The missing hour. Sarah Wilcox first noticed the missing time on a Tuesday morning. She sat up in bed, stretched, and reached for her phone like she always did. It was 7:14 a.m. She remembered brushing her teeth, changing into her pajamas, and getting into bed the night before. The last thing she recalled was looking at the clock, 11:30 p.m. And yet, when she checked her phone's sleep app, something was wrong. The tracking showed she had moved around between 11:30 p.m. and 12:30 a.m. A lot. Tossing, turning, sitting up. But she had no memory of it. Must have had a restless night, she muttered, shaking off the unease. She went about her day, brushing the feeling away. But the next morning it happened again, and again the morning after that. Always the same. Her last memory at 11:30 p.m., then nothing until her alarm rang. Sarah wasn't the paranoid type, but after a week she started to feel strange. Her body ached in ways it shouldn't. A dull soreness in her calves, like she'd been walking in her sleep. Scratches on her arms she couldn't explain. She decided to set up a camera. The next night she positioned her phone on the dresser, facing the bed. The infrared night mode would catch anything unusual. She pressed record, took a melatonin, and crawled under the blankets, staring at the ceiling. She felt silly. Sleepwalking? That had to be it. Maybe stress. Work had been hell lately. A new project, a demanding boss, late nights. It made sense. And yet, as she drifted off, a nagging fear curled around her ribs. The video was waiting for her in the morning. She hesitated before pressing play. At first, everything looked normal. She was still, breathing softly, lost in sleep. Then at exactly 11:59 p.m., her body jerked upright. Sarah inhaled sharply. On screen, she sat stiffly on the edge of the bed, head tilted down, hair hanging over her face. She didn't move for a full minute. Then her hands flexed, fingers twitching, her head lifted. She turned toward the camera, toward herself. Her eyes were open, not groggy, not confused, open and alert, staring directly into the lens. Then she smiled, a slow, eerie stretch of lips that didn't look like hers. Sarah stopped the video. Her heart pounded so hard she thought she might be sick. That wasn't normal sleepwalking. That wasn't her. She forced herself to keep watching. At 12:04 a.m., she stood and left the room. The camera didn't follow, but when she returned at 12:29 a.m., she was covered in dirt. Her bare feet left dark smudges on the floor. She climbed back into bed and lay down. At 12:30 a.m., her body went slack, as if someone had flipped a switch. She slept peacefully until morning. Sarah spent the day in a daze. She checked the front door, locked. The windows, locked. She even examined her feet. They were clean, no dirt, no sign she had gone outside. But the camera didn't lie. That night she set up the camera again, and another. One in the hallway, one by the front door. She barely slept, listening to her own breathing, waiting for something to happen. The footage was worse. At 12:01 a.m., she left the bedroom and walked outside. The front door was wide open, swaying slightly in the breeze. She came back at 12:28 a.m., her nightgown smeared with dirt. This time, her hands were filthy. She carried something cupped in her palms, something small. She sat on the edge of the bed, whispering to it. Then gently, she placed it under her pillow. She climbed under the covers, and by 12:30 a.m., she was still. Sarah's breath came in short bursts. Her hands trembled as she lifted her pillow. There was dirt and a tooth, a small yellow tooth. She ran to the bathroom and threw up. She didn't sleep the next night. She forced herself to stay awake, watching the clock tick past 11:30, past midnight. At 12:03 a.m., her body moved on its own. Her muscles locked. Her head turned sharply against her will. Her lips stretched into that awful smile. She was still awake, but she wasn't in control. Her legs swung over the edge of the bed. She stood, walked, tried to fight it, but her body wasn't hers. She made it to the front door, her hand gripping the knob. She twisted it open and stepped outside. The cold air hit her skin, and for a moment, she thought she could break free. But her feet moved forward, one step, then another. bare soul sinking into damp earth. She walked to the backyard, to the hole. She dropped to her knees and dug. The dirt was loose like she'd been here before. Her fingers curled around something hard, something smooth. A bone, small, human. Her mouth moved, and her voice, flat and distant, whispered, "Almost done." Sarah woke up in bed. She gasped, sitting up so fast she nearly fell over. Her hands were caked with dirt. The smell of earth filled her nose. She scrambled out of bed, running to the backyard. A hole? No. A grave. Small. Deep. She staggered back.